more than the other elements. Article 2. It's a whole article, so... Okay.
Correct. Okay. What about the vision? Recognizing a vision is different from a mission. Do you have any technical changes to that particular reference?
Yeah. Reads well as is written.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
Anybody opposed to the proposed wording?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, that sounds like you got approval by acclamation.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through strengths and weaknesses and threats because those were more for background information.
Yeah.
The board motions are again for reference. So we're going to transition effectively to the goals and the strategies and action items. We obviously, one of those slides gives you, and this will be a kind of a fluid document that we can fill in probably after your April meeting once you have some chance in person to further discuss some of these areas. But the premise behind the strategic plan was to come up with no more than 4 or 5 key goals and then to populate certain strategies and actions around them. The first one, no priority order, was to clearly state NACRA will be a valued educational resource on CCRC's subject matter. The good news is that you, to some extent, have already been doing a lot related to that goal, even though it wasn't, on paper. A great example that was indicated, obviously, is you have the NACRA U component that's been developed by Mr. Cumming, but there is a clear action that's illustrated to this that you can't rely on one individual to maintain this going forward in order for it to be effective. So they're effectively, I hate to say it, like a better term, need to have a business succession plan, if you will, that would allow NACRA U to continue in the future by some measure. And so there's a committee charged to basically develop a business plan for that purpose. Does anybody have any questions on the intent behind this strategy? I would assume we may need to look at the timetable that would be appropriate. I'm not sure, Mr. Cumming, if you and Charlie have had a chance to talk offline of what's reasonable in terms of coming up with maybe an action plan of how this could be achieved going forward, if April might be too soon, or if you would need maybe to your fall meeting to present a proposal to the board.
Charlie and I have talked about it. We do have the succession in place. And I've shared some material with Ruth on this, and I infer that you're not aware of it. So perhaps that's beyond...
Conversations. I just didn't know if you'd be in a position to present a formal proposal at the April meeting.
Well,
sounds like you're pretty close to it.
I think there are some aspects of this that are beyond the scope of today's conference call.
Okay.
I think so. You're right.
Okay. Just from a timetable standpoint, should we leave April, or would it be more appropriate to extend it maybe to the fall meeting?
I don't think there's any problem in meeting an April thing for the succession and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Effectively, we broke these goals up into program or subject matters. So program, services, and benefits is one area. The group recommended that we break up membership and financial into a different category. And so there are several goals under the membership/financial area, because that's obviously the lifeblood of the organization. Goal number 1, NACRA will improve its current marketing and communication to ensure members understand the value of current and future benefits. individuals will have to be assigned to focus in on this area. Otherwise, it just works on paper.
Right.
And, so
how large a group do you envision?
I would anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 people, could be focused. And some of these people may want to overlap into some of the other related items, but definitely have to have somebody, that's focusing on these areas.
Is there anyone listening who would like to volunteer or to be part of that? Okay, well, we'll work on it for April.
Okay.
My suggestion is that we try to flesh out a little bit on what course these various strategies might take, because I think there may be some reluctance to volunteer until the scope of the project is better understood.
Yeah.
My suggestion is that we broaden this to scope it out a little bit more in detail, and then look to Ruth to take that information and then appoint participants to take responsibility for these tasks.
What's the feeling of the group? Is that all right?
That seems to be a good idea. I was going to suggest that since it really relates to membership and finances, that perhaps Bob Nicholson and Joe Walton might be good candidates to try to formulate that design, if you will, for these, how we're going to carry this out, and then and what our objectives will be, and then we can put together teams to carry out those
Sounds
objectives.
good.
I agree. I think that's a good suggestion.
Okay, we'll work from that then.
Okay.
Okay, Bennett.
Let me move on, because the next goal has some fairly clear, measurement outcomes. NACRA has a membership base and other mission-related revenue sources that allows it to adequately fund necessary programs and services. There are some clear strategies that have been developed here. I'm not going to read them all, but you've got some real clear performance metrics outlined in this particular category, and also a timeline of when you would effectively measure any progress. There is one strategy that I think, based on some recent activities, may either want to come off or be reworded. And I'm focusing on the one that says NACRA seeks to work with Cigna on developing a formal proposal for long-term care insurance services to be available to NACRA's membership. Without getting into great detail, I think, effectively, Cigna specifically may not be, at this point in time, a viable partner for this purpose. However, it's a question to the group, do you want to still keep a broader strategy to say, you would seek to work with, third-party vendors, if you will, that may have a membership benefit, that NACRA could align with. So it's still a stated strategy, but not naming a particular partner at this point. That's a question to the group.
Joe Walton speaking. I've been working with Cigna a better part of a year to explore opportunities where we could work together for mutual benefit. And the idea here has been to follow the AARP business model, so to speak. I have advised Cigna that I intend to, at least for the present, to suspend further discussion with them. And I do that because I don't think that there is an agreement don't think there is any agreement on the type and the kind of partnership. And, I'm just reluctant to put Cigna staff people or anyone else's staff people to a lot of work before we're committed on our own direction here. So I think the task here is to focus on whether or not we want to have partnerships, one or more, and with what kind of organization and what we would be seeking from those partnerships. The underlying thought here, one of the things that's driving this is the need to add value for membership. And there are other organizations that have products and services that we may be able to facilitate the delivery of those products and services to our membership. And there are other organizations with resources, ability to reach individuals, for example. They have the facilities or the systems in place and the financial resources to do that. And in that area, presently, ACRA is very limited in its resources.
Yes, and that's the reality of the situation that we really have to study as we go along.
Okay,
How
so
can
no, go ahead, please.
No, I just so how can we begin to affect what we need to do?
You maybe just say, to me, it sounds like if the group's agreeable, it sounds like maybe it's an issue that's, not quite ready,
Right?
and maybe we'll just pull it off in general, and then at some stage, then the leadership could revisit that particular area of focus.
Everybody agree on that? Yeah.
Okay.
I would say yes.
The next one, to some extent, will be answered based on the bylaws process, because it basically says, there needs to be a clear-cut governance structure that allows you to conduct business effectively and on a timely basis, if you will. A lot of that's being addressed in your bylaws proposal, which we'll get to shortly.
Yep.
But I don't think I'm assuming nobody would argue that that's a reasonable focus.
Yep. I agree.
Any opposition to that?
Yep.
Okay. A subsequent strategy that relates to that same goal, again, that would probably be determined by the bylaws discussion later, is once you have adopted a new set of bylaws, whatever the provisions may be, is that you would make sure that there's some, I would say enhancement, but maybe some clarification of job descriptions. And so that'll be an outcome that stems from your bylaws discussion.
And that would go into a policy manual, not spelled out in the bylaws?
Right, it would not be in the bylaws, it would be a policy manual. That's correct.
Thank you.
A question to the group, though, because there's not a timetable, what would be a reasonable timetable for the group to consider for formulating that, that element of your policy manual? Would your fall meeting, would that be agreeable to people?
I'm wondering, I'm going to ask Ron Herring, because he's very skilled at this, what would be a projected length of time to come up with a draft policy and procedures manual? Yeah, I know, that's a loaded question, I know.
You have to have all the information in front of it before you proceed and can answer the question, how long would it take?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I'm in a position to know whether all the information is available. If it's available to make a policy and procedures manual, that shouldn't take very long. That's kind of a skilled secretarial task and can be put together by any number of different people. But you have to make sure you got all the issues on the table before you introduce the creation of the manual, and I don't have that information available.
Right, and I think a lot depends on what happens with the bylaws, proposed bylaws amendment.
Yeah, I would make one additional comment. I've always thought of a policies and procedures manual as a living document that the governing body, in this case perhaps the board or the executive committee, time to time in order to complete its goals and objectives properly.
Yeah, and then just to add to that means that we don't have to continually change the bylaws or amend the bylaws. We can do it through the policies and procedures manual.
Right.
So that makes it.
And I would think that if we would work, not necessarily by phone, but certainly online together,
Yeah.
to have a start on one by the fall.
You think so? All right.
Okay.
Sounds reasonably wonderful.
Okay. All right. Okay. The next big area, there's 3 independent goals that relate to, well, I say independent, but 2 of them basically are aligned with each other. NACRA shall be proactive on launching new efforts that seek to ensure the quality of life and protection of resident investments. So you've got effectively 4 strategies, and you have a financial soundness committee that's working. We probably won't get into too much detail on that today, although Mr. Boyer and his group have done a great job in that area. And so, the only thing that's kind of a hard deadline, if you will, is by the fall of 13 is to have some type of quote-unquote final bill, model bill, if you will. So we purposely, I think, left the other elements of timelines kind of in flux to allow the Soundness Committee to continue its work. But does anybody have any questions that's obviously a needed and stated strategy?
I have a problem with the term resident investment. It has to be clarified that it's resident investment in the CCRC. Otherwise, it could be all my stocks, etc., that you're not going to worry about protecting.
I think that's a fair statement. I don't know. If people were agreeable to it, we could just say in protection of resident investments in their chosen CC or in their CCRC.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that was.
What about calling it what it is? Resident loans to the CCRC.
It's not a loan.
Pardon?
It's not a loan.
Okay. Then there's the beginning of what's wrong with the whole thing here. When you, I'll speak for Connecticut, or at least for Meadow Ridge. When we do the entry fee, there's an amount of money which is loaned to Meadow Ridge. Has to be repaid by Meadow Ridge, and there's no interest on it. It's hardly an investment. It is a required loan.
This is
California. Tell me what they do there.
okay. This is Jack Cumming. Hello.
A purchase. And
You purchase.
my entrance fee is, once 6 years have gone by, I have no way of getting anything back from my entrance fee. It is a guaranteed life investment. We have life care here. And so my entrance fee pays for that life care.
Okay, so your entrance fee is totally non-refundable.
Yeah, I don't think we.
Radically different.
I think we're getting off the track.
Yes,
And
When you say investment, does that include California? Does that include Connecticut?
well, there's a diversity of practice among communities, and if you'll get in touch with me, this is Jack Cumming, I'll fill you in on that. But what you...
May I interrupt here? Joe Walton speaking. I think that this goal and the strategy is an extremely important one, and one in which NACRA should be very broadly focused and very thoroughly focused on, beginning right now, if we're not already there. And I say that because I believe that these changes in the accounting rules that are now a requirement and are in the process of being implemented across the country is apt to become a major issue and a source of a lot of controversy. And
Joe, you're right, but
I think this represents an opportunity for NACRA to get recognition. And if we get out in front of this thing and lead in shaping developments, it's just an extraordinary opportunity. And rather than, the debate that's been going on here in the last few minutes on what these changes mean is an indication of the need for someone to lead in establishing clarity. And that's going to get a lot of attention across the country among CCRC residents and potential CCRC.
Particularly with the baby boomers coming in. Madam Chair, this is Bennett. For the purpose of facilitating the conversation, I don't think people are disagreeing, from what I hear, that the goal and the strategies are sound. People are getting hung up on the wording. Yeah. And so...
this won't for Bennett. Let me suggest you add after investments in their CCRCs, so that it reads life and protection of resident investments in their CCRCs.
In that goal statement right there.
That would make me happy.
Yeah.
This is Bill Root. I would suggest changing investments to financial involvements. That would cover all the various types of entities.
That's even better. I don't have an objection to that.
All right, Bennett, you take it from there.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
All right.
Ed Fowler, Doncaster, Connecticut. I would like very briefly to come back to the first strategy about releasing a model bill for state CCRC legislation. As a newcomer to this exercise, I just would like to ask, is that in process? Is there a draft organizationally?
Yes, there is one, and it's on the NACRA University website, if you go there.
Okay. Sorry to ask. I'll have the answer to it. Thank you.
Okay, Bennett, off you go.
Okay, I'm going to transition to the last goal statement that's relative to public policy. Basically speaks to NACRA will improve member and prospect awareness of existing legislative or regulatory changes the association has achieved during its history. It has some correlation back to the membership area, but it's basically ensuring that, it's, to some extent it's out of sight, out of mind. A lot of members are not aware of some of the things that NACRA's been able to already achieve that, effectively pays dividends for them on a recurring basis. And so we basically have, a committee, if you will, a working group to help develop kind of basically I'd say a document, if you will, that can be utilized. So we didn't put a timetable on that. So that's maybe a question of the group. Do you want to hold that to, the fall meeting, knowing that you've got some other deliverables that come across in the fall? Or is that something the group thinks it could achieve by the April meeting in Lakeland?
Bennett, I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
I'm at the very last one, where it's where you would basically take from NACRA's founding to now and providing basically a document that highlights the key things that you've done from either a federal congressional standpoint or on behalf of a particular state, some of the the key benefits from a public policy standpoint that have been
Public policy advocate.
That is correct, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jack Cumming, is some of that already documented by you? See there?
I'm sorry?
I just wonder if Jack Cumming had already documented some of that information.
This is Jack. It's ever been pulled together. I think Walt Boyer had a PowerPoint. Charlie Polk is a good resource, but I think that the information is there to be assembled, but I don't have it in succinct form right now.
Okay, I just didn't know that you have a lot of information in that for you. So that's doable. This could be for April or for the fall. We can give us a little bit of leeway. come under your umbrella.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Bennett, where are we now?
I guess what I would say, if the group is agreeable, you've outlined certain areas that obviously we have to kind of update relative to a wording standpoint.
Yes.
But I wonder if a motion would be in order to say, the group adopts the strategic plan contingent upon final wording changes that the board would review in April. That would probably be sufficient if there was a consensus to adopt it in that nature.
Is there such a motion?
Yeah, I'll move it. This Walt Boyer.
Walt Boyer, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All right. Are you ready for the question? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, thank you. All right.
Okay.
Bennett, that's wonderful.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
Okay. So now it is now 10 minutes of 3, and we have completed the first section having to do with strategic plan draft, and for which I really thank you very much. And at this point, we are going to take a breath of air, and then we're going to go right on to the bylaws revision as proposed. And I would entertain a motion. Poor Bennett, he's worked already, but I would entertain a motion to appoint Bennett Napier, CAE, to serve as facilitator and parliamentarian for the purpose of reviewing the bylaws proposal and guiding the process for any amendments that come forward for consideration. This would allow us all as a board to freely discuss the proposal and make informed decisions. So is there anyone who would make that motion, please?
Yeah, I will make that motion. Walt
And that's
Boyer.
Walt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
That's Helen?
Second. Clint Willis.
All right, Clint, thank you. And is there any discussion? Then we're all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, now Bennett, you want to take a deep breath and get some water before we begin with this section?
Okay. And I appreciate the board's motion to that effect. And this just will allow Mr. Cumming as your committee chair to have open dialogue with you and not have to worry about how we get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So within this framework, just for some background information, typically when a group does a bylaws review, you basically are comparing and contrasting the old with the new. In this particular situation, we're not going to do it in that vein because there are fairly significant changes between the two, and it would be very, very cumbersome, to do word by word compare the differences. So now, what I will tell you, I think as we go through this, you will find the overall outcomes, to some extent, are similar in nature to what your founding bylaws called for outside of the governance structure. I will give my own editorial, for what it's worth. I was around when NACRA got started in '94, before it was ever chartered, and recognize that any group is organizing at the foundational level. You create bylaws that are very broad in nature and basically encompass all facets of your market audience. And so the first several years, that's what most groups that are starting out do. Over the course of time, pretty much every group goes through a life cycle whereby you need to revisit your guidance document, if you will, and come to a foundation, if you will, where the governance structure, i.e. the board of directors, is more pared down in nature and more manageable to allow the organization to more effectively and more quickly act on the membership's behalf. And obviously, being a national organization, that's even luxury to, drive across the street and meet as a group, whenever you need to.
Yeah.
So there, a lot of that, I think, if you keep that in the back of your mind in terms of the rationale of kind of the proposal in its entirety, goes towards that end, I think. I think the most efficient way to do this is to go article by article, and I would hope that some of these articles are non-controversial and you could adopt them, individually, and then those articles where you do have either a concern or a question for clarification or a suggested amendment, then you could take them up at that point in time, if that's agreeable to everybody.
Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
This Boyer, I'd like to make a comment also, if I may.
Yes.
I think, this is my personal view, the most important part of this document is the change in the governance provisions of the article, of the document. And I know that Beth and Jean have sent in comments on it, and I had a few comments of my own. But I think even if we have what is yet an imperfect document, it's extremely important for us to pass a new bylaws that does have the government's provisions in it so that we can move ahead. And that's my comment.
And I thank you for that. Okay,
Well,
Bennett.
may I just interject? This is Helen Ducation. I found it utterly confusing as to who votes and whether there's any weighted vote for state organizations. So I hope that will become clear as we're led through this discussion. But it doesn't seem to me that it's there in black and white. The understanding of who votes for the and whether individuals are the ones who elect the board or not.
Yes, ma'am.
What
We're
role
going to get to that as we're going to go
Yes,
article by article.
Yes, we'll get to that under Article 7.
Okay, I hope
Yes,
so.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It will.
Article 7 and 8 definitely both address that.
Okay, if we're ready to proceed, go for it.
Article 1 basically is who you are and where your offices may be maintained. Does anybody have any
I have
So-
a question.
All right, we got to do one at a time.
Bennett?
I think you have the lady first and then you,
Is
Bob.
that Helen?
Okay, this is Judy.
Oh, Judy.
I have a simple question on the name of the organization, and obviously we can't change it. But I've just found out that CCRC refers to retirement, not to resident.
Well, it can be used for a resident. That is, and
We've
like
always used it as resident.
but in fact, there's a big difference between that and the other name, because this is a representation of the individuals, of the residents, not of the facilities, of owners and managers.
And it does indeed provide a continuum of care. I think that's one of the issues also. Anything more, Dan?
No?
Okay.
I recommend that Article 1 be approved.
I have a question with Article 1.
All right.
Okay. Just for
Then you
purposes
handle it.
yeah,
I'm going to let you
just
do
for,
that.
just for purposes of parliamentary procedure, it'd probably be better to have a motion, which you have a motion and have a second, and then go into the discussion stage.
Yes.
Okay,
So
is there
I
a
think
second? There was a second to Walt's proposal for Article 1.
I'll second it.
All right. Okay.
So, Mr. Smith, we're in the discussion stage, so you could certainly ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question. Its principal office shall be in Washington, D.C. Shouldn't that be changed to Tallahassee?
I can
You
comment
read
on
the
that.
wording. It says, or such other place
Yeah,
as may be established, so it encompasses, it could be anywhere.
yeah. Let me just comment. The reason why we made it Washington is simply because it's a national association, and we want to give it national gravitas.
indicate his principal office was in Florida until such other offices is established from time to time by the board of directors. So whatever our pleasure. And Bennett, I'm going to stop interrupting you.
No, your time. No. Mr. Smith, does that help answer your question?
Partially. I mean, if anybody from the United States Tax Service would want to contact the organization, would they have a telephone, street number, or anything that they could contact?
I just, to Mr. Cummings' point, which I agree with, it's a national organization. You know, the reference to D.C. is probably appropriate, but you can move your office wherever it needs to be. And for purposes of government communication, your federal tax return at this point in time would have the Florida address because that's where the books are administered. So you don't need to be concerned that they wouldn't be able to find us. They'll find us.
You file a 990, they find you. You bet.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Are we ready? Question. All in favor?
Aye.
Question. Okay, so all in favor of the adoption of Article 1, name and office, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, Bennett.
Okay. Article 2, I think, to be frank with you, well, let's go ahead and address it because it's a holdover from the strategic plan discussion. Obviously, the commentary, which is appropriate, is that you want one mission. You don't want three different missions based on what document you're talking about. Knowing that you will probably review a new mission in April, but just to kind of say where we left off, it's likely to say, at least for this particular purpose, Mr. Cumming, if you're agreeable to it, is that the mission of NACRA is to collaborate nationwide with residents and prospective residents of continuing care retirement communities and others with such interest for the purpose of promoting, protecting, and improving their chosen lifestyle.
Yeah, I would make a motion that Article 2, as proposed here, be revised to the wording that we worked out in the strategic planning discussion, and that language be substituted for what appears in Article 2.
I second it.
Point of clarification, please.
Yes.
Does that include the discussion we had on the financial security?
No.
I think the wording has to be changed and to be consistent. We're not providing financial security.
Well, madam, if I can just clarify, that actually isn't referenced in the mission at all. That was in a strategy.
That's right.
You wouldn't have to. We wouldn't reference that investment terminology.
It's here in Article 2, so I just want to be clear that when we change the wording of Article 2, we correct that.
Yes, ma'am, we would.
I didn't catch who made the second.
It was Bob Smith.
Thank you, Bob.
I second it.
This is Bob Boyer. I would like to make one modification to that. We now have included other organizations. Not sure exactly how we express that, but at the end we say their chosen lifestyle. That there could also include those others. So I think instead of there, we should say CCRC resident chosen lifestyle.
Yeah, the other thought is they can contribute to the chosen lifestyle of residents.
Yes,
The waterfront.
you could put it afterwards as well. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think people would probably construe that as a friendly amendment.
Agreed.
Yeah, may I just raise a caution that we look at the Articles of Incorporation and make sure that we're not contradicting anything in the Articles of Incorporation?
Jack, you want to speak to that? Should we have it?
Yeah, we'll make sure that it's all consistent.
I'm just suggesting you do it.
Yes, we will do it. Thank you for the suggestion.
Incorporate this in all of those different documents.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you haven't called the question on Article 2. Is there any other discussion?
All right, then, have we made the motion? I lost track of myself.
Yeah, you do have a motion and a second to...
Okay, so we're ready for the
effectively-
question.
So,
All in favor, including with the suggestions that have been made?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now to the purpose, Article 3.
and I just want to make sure people understand Article 3 and Article 4, purpose and values, kind of linked together. And you can be more detailed, and you should be more detailed in these particular articles. I would hope people understand the intent, and we'll have substantive changes if there's minor technical changes that you want to address. I think probably the posture you should go into is maybe make a motion to approve Article 3 as proposed, and then go into discussion to determine if there's any necessary changes.
Dan Robinson again. I would like to just make an overall comment about Article 3 and Article 4. Again, these are the bylaws, and whatever you put in here becomes a limitation, not just a specification, but a limitation on what you can do. And earlier, in going through the strategic plan report, an observation was made that certain things should not be put into hard concrete like that, but rather in a policy study or document or whatever. I would try to keep both of those articles as limited as possible. There's no need to have it no need to have all this language in the bylaws.
Dan, this is
As I see it. Okay.
Dan, this is Jack Cumming. Would you be willing to put that in the form of a motion that Article 3 and Article 4 be removed from the bylaws and incorporated into the policy manual with any revisions that are deemed fit in the course of developing the policy manual?
Well, I can't remember all the words you said, but I agreed with everything you said. So I'd like to make the motion as just enumerated.
Okay, and I will second it.
And is there any further discussion? There's one thing, and I don't know whether this is out of order at this point, but and Jack, I'll talk to you about it, but in the section 1C, it talked about NACRA chapters, and that's got to go because nobody knows what it is. I bet that you'll look at when you revise for the policies and procedures manual.
Okay, yeah.
That doesn't change what we've just proposed.
I know, but I'm concerned about that particular thing. Okay.
Well, I'll just comment that all of that was simply taken over from the prior bylaws, and I agree that it's more appropriate. We were just following the current bylaws, and it's appropriate to move it into the policy manual, and it will develop it there.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Assuming everybody votes.
If I can, I want to make sure I restate the motion. I think it's a sound a motion that basically we would take proposed Article 3 and 4, remove them from the bylaws, and include them in your policy manual, just so everybody understands the intent of the motion.
That's correct, Bennett, except we added that in the course of developing the policy manual, they can make amendments to these if they deem appropriate.
Sure. Okay.
And those are easy to do, and you don't have to amend the entire package.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's easy.
Correct.
Are we ready for the question?
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
So the say, all in favor of eliminating Article 3 and 4 to put them into a policy and procedures manual, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's great. Thank you.
All right, this is Walt Boyer. I'd like to propose a new Article 3 vision, and that we include the vision statement and the bylaws.
Walt,
Making the
I'm making that in the form of a motion, yes.
Okay, for Bennett. Any second to that motion?
I'll second it.
okay,
Sorry.
I'll speak in opposition.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd speak, this is Jack, I'll speak in, I think since we're moving that sort of material into the policy manual and the vision statements form the same sort of thing, I would favor making a distinction between this constituting document and the vision so that we have a little more flexibility. So,
So are you in favor or not of the...
I'm opposing it.
You're opposing the motion.
Okay.
Because we're trying to make this strictly a sort of a constituting governance document, if I understand what Dan Robinson's motion was.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're ready for the question, we're going to have to ask people who are opposed we just got to get a number.
Yeah.
So of those people who are in favor of the motion to include as Article 3 and vision statement, please say your name.
Walt Boyer.
Matt Willis?
Is this opposed?
No, 4.
4. Bob Smith?
That's 3. Those who are opposed to that, please state your name.
Dan Robinson?
Ellen?
Joe Walton?
Judy Moss?
Coming.
Ellen Vacation? Serena Hicks?
I think the motion is defeated.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's proceed.
Okay. Article 5, obviously be renumbered, but Article 5, membership. I guess, is there a motion in order to, so we can get into discussion stage?
Well,
I move the adoption of Article 5, the entire package. Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second from Walt Boyer.
All right.
who made the motion?
Marlene.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Now we can talk about it.
Maybe.
Question, Ruth. This is Bob's. Section 2. Individual members of such member state associations, upon certification of their membership in good standing of the member state association, and upon receipt of such bulk enrollment dues as the board shall from time to time determine, shall be individual members of NACRA. Well, I am a member of FLICRA, and FLICRA is a member of NACRA. And I could be a member of NACRA for 4 cents. But I have an individual membership, and right now I don't see a need for an individual membership if this is true.
Okay, may I speak to this?
Please.
Okay, the NACRA was originally formed to be an association of associations. And as a practical matter, that hasn't evolved, and it's become more an organization involving those who've chosen to move into individual membership. So we're seeking now to restore some of the involvement of the state members as individual members within NACRA. This would not, the bulk enrollment would be unlikely to be for 4 cents, but it's opening up the possibility of new ways of approaching membership, but it's necessarily hybrid because we don't want to put the state associations or community associations under some kind of compunction by doing this. We're opening up possibilities so that NACRA can evolve so that the individual members in the state associations who are not also individual dues-paying members in NACRA can begin to have some awareness of all that's going on at the national level on their benefit, for their benefit.
Leaving the conference.
Question, Jack. Why should I be an individual member? What advantage is it for me to be an individual member if I can be a member through my state association?
Well, there would be...
You save the $15 that you would have. And you know, at this Boyer, I think this is a problem area because it would result in a reduced income for the organization.
I disagree, Walt. The idea here is that we would set up a proposal where there would be some sort of payment from the state, and if the states can't afford it, then we have to evolve something else. But there are a number of alternatives that have been talked about that would have the possibility, the most salient of which is the proposal that Bennett developed in Florida years ago for bringing chapter memberships into Florida with a rebate proposal. And I think you've seen the video in which Charlie Polk discusses how that worked and how that was what got Florida up to the level that it's achieved of member involvement. This would simply be taking that Florida model and making it conceivable that we might possibly move toward that sort of a model at the national level. Plus, it would give representation to those people who are in states that don't now have a state association, who have no path to come into communion with NACRA, because currently there has to have been a state association to even provide a path for entry.
I think Section 3 takes care of that, Jack.
Well, that's a part of the new proposal. So you're saying that the new proposal this is necessarily a hybrid to allow an evolutionary period, because the structures of the states have been set up the way they are, and we don't want to interfere with that at all. So this is to allow the evolution of the organization towards something that would be better able to serve a larger base of members than the 800 or 900 individuals who are now involved in NACRA.
Joe Walton here. May I comment? Yep. This is interesting, and I'm supportive of it in theory, but my understanding is that this proposal could make some fundamental changes in some state organizations. Here in Connecticut, we do not have a dues structure. We have nothing in place to administer such a. I'll let Dan Robinson speak to this, but I'm reluctant to go very far with this until we have a better understanding of what's involved here and the level of support that we can find among all the state associations, existing and potential.
Now, I don't know what to add to what you've said, Joe. We have a membership from CONCRA, which is the Connecticut CCRC, and we have individual CCRCs that are members.
Different communities, yeah.
Beg pardon?
Community membership, but no individual membership.
Well, then there'd be...
We have individual memberships in NACRA.
No, in CCRC, in our Connecticut CCRC.
Yeah, if I understand what you're saying, Joe and Dan, there would be no change for Connecticut because you're happy with the way your organization works, and it would be up to people, just as today, to decide whether they want to be individual members of NACRA or not. There's no compunction to change anything. This is just opening up possibilities that are now foreclosed to NACRA.
And I think that's the big issue, is that this is an alternative, or this is another way, and we don't understand that. So
I see the opportunities that Jack speaks of, and I'd like to see us realize those opportunities. I just want to make sure that
You won't lose money.
Excuse me, but hello?
Yeah.
This is Helen. I think this is very confusing. I'm an individual member since the first time he's offered an individual membership. I'm also a member of the state organization, and my own CCRC is a member of NACRA. So I get 3 votes, I guess. It doesn't even say who votes. And anywhere that I can see, who's supposed to vote?
Well, Helen, you've just put in a capsule the reason why this organization needs to change. You point out that you have 3 votes, and that creates.
I don't want 3 votes.
Exactly. We need to create a more. We need to allow the organization to evolve. We don't want to lose the support we have. We need to allow the organization to evolve toward a more rational structure for the future.
And then the other thing that's going to be very important is, as I wrote someplace, we're going to have Bylaws 101 so that everybody will know and come to appreciate what's in there. And so that's an educational thing we're going to have to look to.
Madam Chair, this is
Bennett.
Chair, this is Bennett. I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah,
we may need to get. We may have to get to a point where you have a motion to extend. I mean, we will if the groups allow open to that. Just from an outside looking in, I believe what Mr. Cumming has illustrated is, this is a voluntary process that could be available to those states that would want it, and to the point in terms of the financial impact on NACRA, it puts the process in the hands of the NACRA board to set the appropriate due structure so that NACRA would not effectively being a losing proposition, and maybe that there could be a win-win proposition for both NACRA and the state. But to Mr. Cummings' point, right now, if somebody came knocking and said, hey, we would like to do this, you as an organization would not have that pathway to even consider it. This at least allows you an ability to come up with a process by which it can be done. Right now, you don't even have the option.
Bennett, I'd like to say, this is Bob Smith again. We have 12,000 people who are members of FLYCRA. If this goes through, there's really no need for us to put in individual members. I don't need to pay the $15. I've already done it through my state association. But if this goes through, I'm going to cancel my individual member for NACRA.
All right, well, I respect where Mr. Smith's coming from. Until an individual state association would come up with a request to NACRA to even consider this, there's not even a due structure that's even outlined of how it could be done. So, so first and foremost, you don't even have the option to even have the discussion with the state to do something like this. And then once that invitation, if you will, had come forward to NACRA, the NACRA board would have to come forward and say, here is the dues amount, quote unquote, that we could offer for effectively a joint membership. And so, it's not black and white, Mr. Smith, as you're illustrating, that, everybody automatically becomes a member of NACRA just by becoming a member of FLYCRA. There would have to be, the state association would probably have to raise its dues in some manner, and then some portion of those dues would come to NACRA, or the reverse. But,
No,
who was that who spoke? That was
Bob Smith.
Bob Smith from
yeah.
Florida.
Okay, that Bob, you've just summarized exactly what the idea is that would be permitted by this provision. Would that put you in favor of this article?
Absolutely. If the dues were raised, I paid $15 for FLICRA and $15 for NACRA. If the dues to FLICRA were $30, that would put me in both organizations. I would be totally in favor of what you're saying here. But the way our state association is set up, I don't see this as any advantage for individuals at all in the state of Florida.
Well, I think what you've just described, Bob, is exactly the way it's going, except that because there would be economies, the cost of the combined membership would be less with a bulk approach. But that's something that the officers and directors of NACRA would have to work out in conjunction with the state. There'd be a conversation. All this article does is to make that a permissible possibility, and in the meantime it doesn't change anything that's going on right now.
So it does not mandate any change.
Exactly.
That's right.
I know we're now.
This is Dan Robinson.
Yeah.
Why can't the various methods of being a member be again left to something that can be changed from time to time, and that the association membership and individual membership shall be established by policy by the board, and the dues associated therewith will be set from time to time as required.
Dan, it's a good suggestion. Generally, organizations have to decide whether it's an association of associations or it's an association like AARP, where you join AARP and you are automatically enrolled in a chapter. We're not at a point where we're able to make that, so there is this model for hybrid organizations that allows an evolution from an association of associations. The difficulty now is that most CCRC residents in the United States do not live in states that have state associations, and so they're underrepresented, and that becomes a real challenge.
Yeah.
Does that have to be spelled out in the bylaws, or can that be changed from time to time as required? I guess I come from a school of thought that says keep the bylaws simple.
Yeah, and then do the policies and procedures
Yeah,
manual.
right. I mean, because that's
Keeping it simple. Joe, here, let me ask a question for clarification. If your proposal is implemented, Jack, I will then write a check annually for, say, $30 in dues. And I can send that check to NACRA, or I can send it to Contra, to my state association. One check automatically gives me membership in both organizations. Is that a correct explanation of the way this will work?
Well, first, I don't know that it's my proposal, although I do advocate it, because I got the idea from Charlie Polk. But yes, that would work. I doubt that the amount would be $30. I suspect it would be more like $25.
Whatever it is, that's a detail. Okay, that's very helpful. Second, state associations, the way they are organized now, and by their bylaws and rules, is there anything that would have to be changed at the state association for them to participate in this new scheme?
Well, it would be up to them whether they want to go with the bulk approach or do something else. We can't tell the states what to do. That's their choice.
They may have to change their bylaws too.
It depends on each case is going to be its own thing. That's why it has to evolve.
Like
Well, why do you need, Joe, why do you need to understand something that's merely permissive? In other words, if it's permissive, then each state says, gee, now we have a new option. Let's weigh whether we want to do it or not. And then the states can do what you're now proposing.
Well, it may be as easy as that.
I think the way it's written is confusing.
Yeah.
Joe, I must be I must be missing something. We don't have any personal or individual memberships in Congress.
No, we don't in our state.
We have only the membership of each association, and there's dues of $100 for each one of them. Our total revenues are now, with the new one, is $1,600. We don't have any individual membership, but I would say, I really think that the more flexible you can be without having to revisit the bylaws every week or month or year, the more flexible you can be, the better off. You can formulate this alternative or this third way or whatever it is, and put that out in as long as the board approves it. Put that out in advice to the existing membership. And if that doesn't work, you can change it again and again and again.
Okay, I hate to do this, but it's now 3:31.
Yeah.
And Bennett, I gotta
spend it.
Yeah.
Well, Madam Chair, I mean, I don't know what people's schedules are, but there's a long way to go, and we haven't gotten to governance yet. So, would there be a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes or half an hour would be better? But I'm just see if there's. It depends on people's schedules, so you maintain a quorum.
All right, one for your opposed, we extend it for 30 minutes.
All right, so that would make it to 4 o'clock. There's second to that.
This is Julia. I cannot do that.
You cannot.
I cannot do that either.
That's 2. What's the total?
But I trust all of you to go ahead.
This is Jack.
Some issues that we really need to get at before this afternoon is over.
Yeah.
You know,
It's the quorum that says right in the current bylaws, 4 members shall be a quorum of the board, and there's still a quorum.
Ruth, this is Jack.
should we just get in the interest of time? Should we skip ahead to talking about the meeting arrangements in Florida,
Well,
or should we? You know, most of
Uh,
on the treasurer's report.
Wait a minute, we can't all
Madam
talk at
Chair,
once. Yes.
Madam Chair, you've got a motion to extend a half an hour. I don't know if there was a second.
there's not been a second. Hello, may I speak?
I didn't give the name of the person who seconded it.
Okay, this is Jack.
And then if nobody else does.
Okay,
So that's Dan.
well, this is Jack Cumming. I think you've got a lot of content still to go on, possibly another hour and a half, and I think you want to have as much inclusion of people as possible. Wouldn't it make more sense to have a follow-on conference call in a week or so than to try to cram it all in?
Who's leaving?
I'm no
Julia.
participant.
All right, so what we had 3 dates possible for February.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair. Yeah, I have a question. I would ask somebody to call the question on the motion to extend a half an hour before we just adjourn.
Okay.
Let's see if it's voted up or down.
All right. If there's a motion on the floor to extend and it's been seconded, can we call for the question?
Call for a question.
All right. Who is that?
Well, Boyer.
Walt Boyer. Okay. So then those who are in favor of extending till 4 o'clock, please give me your name.
Well, Boyer. Willis.
Willis. Arlene. 3.
Dan.
4.
Al,
That's
did you get me?
5. Okay. And opposed? I can't. One at a time. Joe.
Opposed.
Cumming?
Helen, opposed.
Root, opposed.
4. And it's 4 and 4. Except some have already left. I know.
I counted 6 on the pro side and 5 against.
All right, that's good.
unless I miscounted. You still have a quorum. You still have a quorum.
Still have a quorum. So, then we extend for a half hour.
Yeah.
Okay. But now...
Okay, I'd like to add something here. On Section 4, Resident Associations. This is very simple here. I'm not sure we're right. We had 30-some-odd members, and somebody came and said, rather than get 30-some-odd members at $15, why don't we get a $150 membership and have it associated with the resident council? And that's what we did. Is that what this says?
Jack?
Al, the whole thing is intended to clarify that sort of problem. The existing structure is simply proven unworkable for the reasons you just stated, and many others.
But what I'm saying is this Section 4, are we in compliance with it?
Are you talking Section 4 or 5? Because we're talking 5 membership.
Yeah, he's at Article 5, Section 4.
Oh, I see what he's talking about.
Leaving the conference. Helen Ducation.
Yeah, we're losing people by the crazy.
Yes, we are.
Um,
All right, Dennis.
Well, Boyer, let me make a motion, if I may,
Yep.
to remove those second sentences in Section 2 and Section 4 for the time being, and ask the board to consider putting those in the policy statement after such time as a clear understanding and provision for proper accounting of the financial aspects of membership has been determined.
Second to that motion. Anybody second? All right, that's Al. All right. Any discussion? So that those Section 2 and 4 would go into a policies and procedures manual.
Yeah, the second sentence of those two.
Why not Section 3 also?
Because it doesn't have the same verbiage.
Okay. So, any other questions? Or call for the question.
All right.
Alrighty. So this would all in favor of that motion to put Section 2 and 4 into the policies and procedures manual.
No, the second those two.
Pardon?
The second sentence only in those two
The
sections.
second sentence, yes, I'm sorry.
In those two sections.
In those two sections. Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those pass. Okay, Bennett?
Okay, all right. Fiscal year Article 6. My assumption is true. That's true. Yeah, let's get back to Article 5. I apologize. Jumping ahead.
There's a problem with Section 6.
Okay, well, 5. Let's do 5 first, Bennett.
Okay, so you have a question on Article 5, Section 6.
Yes, can participate as provided in these bylaws. So, this is a real issue among many people as to what a supporting member could do.
Okay. Madam Chair, if I could answer that question, Mr. Cummings, correct me if I'm wrong. It's very clear, if you read it carefully, individual members are defined in Article 5, Section 5. A supporting member is defined in Article 5, Section 6. When we get into the discussion on board members and who can be a board member, only individual members can be directors on the board. So a supporting member cannot be a board member, period. Meaning, the only people who can be a board member are residents of CCRCs or life care communities.
Okay. Is that clear?
Well,
Clear, Bill?
the issue is still there, and I think this is an example of the kind of issue that we ought not to be deciding with a rump group like this, now that this call is going for overtime. This really is concerning, because there are people who believe that, Charlie Polk being one, that anybody who is supporting the purposes of NACRA should be free to fully participate. Other people say, gee, it should be very restricted and only somebody who's a resident should be permitted to participate. This is something that really needs some discussion, and it would be a shame if it were decided by a small group without the involvement of everyone who has a position on it.
All right, then, what, Bennett, how do we proceed? Can we cease?
Well, here's what I would ask, and I don't disagree with the premise. Just to expedite things, because you do have a couple other items within your time allotted. Would the group be agreeable to taking up those articles that are non-controversial or in nature, and seeing if there's a motion to at least adopt those, and then hold these other ones that are more comprehensive for a reconvening of the broader group?
All right, Walt, did you move that?
Yes, please.
A second?
Second.
And that is
Dan.
Ben, okay. So it's been moved and seconded that we go to the non-controversial items and leave the others, particularly Section 5 and 6 of Article 5, for a later meeting.
I don't think there's going to be many, but Article 6, fiscal year, my
That
assumption
shouldn't
is
be a problem.
that's
But we didn't vote on that other, so if everybody agrees that they will do that, so please signify by saying aye.
I oppose. I don't think we should do it in parts.
You think we just stop right now? So, how, Bennett, let's...
Well, I guess you have to call the question on the motion.
Yeah, we did. I did.
But we didn't take the vote tally
Yeah,
yet.
all right, so all in favor of the motion on the floor, which is Walt's, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed?
And that's Judy.
Judy.
Okay. And so that motion has then now passed. Okay, Bennett.
Okay, so Article 6, fiscal year.
I don't have a problem with that. We need it. Yep.
No, no problem with that.
So can we ever? You want to?
If there's no opposition, you could approve it by acclamation.
Can we approve that by acclamation?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Okay, so that's approved.
Okay.
So now we're at Article 7, Board of Directors.
My assumption is that corresponds to the previous, so you would hold that one for a later group.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Also, Article 8.
Article 8 of the officers.
My assumption is you would want to hold that too.
Yeah, I think we need to hold that.
And Article 9.
9 in duties.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Article 10, the meetings of the membership, that should be able to be approved.
My assumption is that's non-controversial, but it's worth asking.
Article 10, do you have any problem with that? That's the general meetings coincides.
I'm sorry. Article 9, section...
We're not going to do that one.
No, but Section 6 is just the next to last line. The language is confusing. It's not correct. Organization can afford for reimbursement. So just look at that when you go through.
Okay, we will. Okay. Thank you. And then meetings of the membership, is there any problem with that?
Yes, the quorum says members present, but we haven't decided how to count the members. It seems to me that gets back to Article 5.
Well, it goes because of the Article 5. It has to do with how many people are on the executive board. On the board of directors.
Well, we have so many different types of members. We don't count them when it comes
Now,
to
this
quorum.
is the board of directors, and that we have to agree on.
No, this is meetings of the membership. So
Yeah.
I guess I would say I would concur with the gentleman's premise that maybe that one
Okay,
doesn't correlate. I apologize.
It's really more Article Section 6 than Section 5.
What about Article 11?
And that's dues and contributions. And that looks all right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'd approve that one.
Approve that one. And article. Would you? Anybody want to approve that by acclamation?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
All approve?
Yes.
Thank you. Aye. Opposed? No, okay, thank you.
Art, what about Art? Go ahead.
I might have missed something, but are we going to hold Article 10, meeting of the membership?
Yes.
Hold that, okay. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Article 12 is fairly consistent with your existing bylaws, so it's not materially different.
Right.
Shouldn't that be in the policy manual?
Generally speaking, you would have a committee article in your bylaws.
But this way, then the board of directors can create any number of. The only one they cannot create is the nominating committee. So that's kind of carte blanche. That shouldn't be a problem. Does everybody agree we could do that one?
Yeah.
Yes. By acclamation.
Yes.
Yes. All approve?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Against? Okay, that one is approved. Thank you very much.
My assumption is obviously 13 and 14 you would hold to,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to get some of the less controversial ones out of the way, so your time would be better spent on the more
everyone
substantive stuff. Yeah.
has his or her package, so please study this carefully. And now we have to come to a date. And I know that there are several people who cannot, for the 4th of February, which is Monday, 5 people cannot come. Mr. Boyer, Matheson, Polk, Varner, and Walton. And
Ruth,
Yes.
this is Walt Boyer. I'm now available. My conflict has been canceled, so
okay.
I'm now available.
All right, so that would only
And
be.
I've never been asked, have I?
Yeah, I gave those choices for the meetings.
Okay, I don't have them down on my calendar.
Oh.
What
What was the time on the 4th? Well, we have to decide. 2 o'clock, Bennett?
I could do 2 o'clock. And
Okay.
that's Monday.
Monday the 4th.
I have a conflict at 2 o'clock, but I can do. Well, let's see. I run a course from 1:30 to 3:30, and I'm.
That would bring us. Wait, how about Tuesday the 5th? I know Jack Matheson cannot, Charlie Polk, Bob Smith, Marlene, and Joe Walton cannot come on that day.
I can make it on the 5th.
Oh, good.
I can make it on the 5th now also.
Oh, wonderful.
What time?
No, the 5th looks
2
good.
o'clock?
Let me check my calendar. I think I can make it on the 5th, too.
Oh, that would be great. Then
Your
it's,
time, okay.
yeah,
I
2
can make it
o'clock.
on the 5th.
Oh, wonderful.
Sounds like you have a quorum that could make it on the 5th
Yes.
at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock on Tuesday the 5th. And
Right.
you have your homework. Oh, God. So, and then what I'm going to try to do is to talk really briefly about the annual meeting coming up. And Bennett, what else do we need to cover? And I know Walt Boyer has some really good things going for Financial Soundness Committee. You want to hear that today? And then I can write you about how far we are coming on the annual meeting?
Madam Chair, that's up to y'all's discretion, whatever item you want to cover within the time you've got remaining today.
We now have about 12 minutes. Walt, can you talk real quick?
Yeah, I'll just do this very quickly and not go into a lot of teaching.
Right.
The Jack Cumming has put together a set of model statutes and laws and standards which is placed on the NACRAU website. We would like to propose those to go to as models for the various states. One of the issues that we have right now is we've had an internal review by the committee. We've made a few minor changes to it, and we're now ready to go outside the walls of NACRA to get further advice and counsel with regard to these. We would like to go to people like Catherine Pearson at Pennsylvania State. We'd like to go to the Departments of Insurance for several states. We want to go to the various laws and standards, and as an official function of NACRA.
Joe Walton here, I that motion.
I'd make that motion.
I'd say.
I think that is such an outstanding thought, Walt, and I think everybody by consensus would agree that this is a very essential thing to do. The one thing I would ask also, as you're considering all of this, is the information network. How best should we inform all of our CCRC people and our associations and community, so that we can, I guess communication obviously has been a very difficult thing. So we got to try to come up with a vehicle that will allow us to communicate freely, carefully, and thoroughly. So when you'd be thinking, could you be thinking how best to do this?
Well, I wonder if...
That's a difficult question for me to answer off the top of my head, quite frankly. I would like to talk to you in a little more depth, perhaps by email, maybe with Bob Nicholson and some others about communications on this regard.
Yeah, it's truly vital, so somehow or other, so we can keep everybody informed. And the other, anything more you want to add? Because this sounds just outstanding.
No, I would ask Jack if he has any further comment to make on this.
Well, in thinking through your communications, I'd certainly include Judy Moss, who's our vice president for communications. But given that, then I think we're ready to vote on it.
All right. All right. Any other comments? We're ready for the question. Well, then, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Okay, that is passed. Walt, go for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then, Walt, I would like something for Lifeline, hopefully.
Yes.
And the deadline is the 8th.
I'm getting in another overload situation, but I'll try to put something together for you. Yeah.
Tell me about that. Yes, the 8th of February, Marlene will be waiting. And I think you're going to be very interested in this coming issue because Milt Brummer died, who was one of the founding members. And Marlene has put together a magnificent front piece to honor Milt. And we had hoped that he was going to be well enough to join us down at the Carpenters in April, but unfortunately he died in December, I think it was, Marlene?
Anyway, December,
Yeah, very end of December. But he was just a peach of a man, and we've heard from lots of his contemporaries, Jim Transu from California and a couple others, with really fine tributes to a really great man. So I think you'll be interested in that. And then also, Walt's doing his timeline. I'm trying to do a little brief on how we're coming with the annual meeting. And you'll be interested, Walt, that we are going to have Catherine Pearson with us.
Oh, that's good.
One of our speakers, and I'm trying to get several others. Nobody's communicating very well, but that's in progress, and we have menus set, and just reserve that the bulk of the date is Thursday, the 4th of April. We'll have a board meeting and a dinner meeting, and the dinner will be provided by Carpenters just to welcome us. So I think that will be a well worth and very fruitful meeting, and I hope everybody can come. And we'll keep you posted on the rest. And it is now, anybody have anything else to note at this point? And Bennett, thank you for yeoman's service.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned, or is it?
We are not adjourned so much as we are to continue on Tuesday, the 5th of February.
Well, will there be minutes for this meeting, or
Jack he's going to do that, right, Jack?
Yeah. I'll do the best I can. Some of it flowed mighty fast, but we'll do the best we can and try to get you something before Tuesday.
Alrighty.
Will it be the same phone number?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
What's the time, 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, standard time.
You bet. And so I think that some of the people who could not be with us today, like that's how I will be there. So we'll see how it all works, but I thank you
thought y'all did an excellent job, and know these are, very, complex issues in many cases. So I thought you handled them very tactfully, and I think you're on the right path. So I look forward to next Tuesday's call.
Thank you so much. One quick comment. Anyone that did not get a copy of the Treasurer's report didn't have everyone's address, but anyone who did not and wants to get one, if they send me their email or their snail mail address, I'll get it out to them.
Thank you so much. And Joe, I forgot, anything, you got 5 minutes to talk a little bit about the financial report?
Well, I can say it in about 3 sentences. Everyone, I think, or most have the material. The most important item to look at is my analysis of membership income from dues and donations. The bottom line is that we're still dependent upon donations to pay our bills, and it's going to be a challenge to face up to that, because 60%, almost 60% of our donations have come from a single source. The good news is that we kept our expenses this year under what they were last year. That is a result of increasing individual members 26% and lifetime members 23%. It's a function of individuals who made in-kind contributions to keep our expenses down, and finally consolidation of administrative functions that saves us money and improves efficiency.
Right.
End of report.
And that's wonderful, and I just got to give partners in management a pat on that, because Will has been so great with the membership information, and he's very efficient, and it has made a big difference in lots and lots of people. So please thank you. I would like to put in a pitch, please. Yes, please, all of you, let me know when you have members who die, so that I can get them off the list and save us money from sending them Lifeline. Great. And we have a huge list of people who need to re-up or to renew their membership. So I know that list went out to Marlene. But anyway, we got to keep the drum rolling for new members and for renewals of membership. And I thank you all so much. It's been 2 hours and it's flown by. And I thank you, and we'll be back in touch. Bennett, anything more to say?
No, just that was really exciting. Thanks for your great professionalism.
Thank you, and Jack.
If you're still looking for a volunteer for membership financial,
Leaving the conference.
Yes, leaving. All right, that's Bill.
I'm done. Okay.